guys, how you doing? It's Rabea, hope you're all good. Back at it with another video on behalf of Boss. Of course we all know who Boss are, need no introduction, but if you've been keeping tabs on them as of late, they've been releasing some really cool new pedals. First one we looked at was the SY-200, but I'm really excited about this video because if you remember a little while ago, we did a video on the Boss SY-1. Now that was an immense pedal. It came in the classic Boss compact pedal series form factor, and it was a lot of fun. I did a video with both me and Dave. One of the things that I felt was that it gives you so many different variations of sound. There's no way of programming those. There's no way of recalling them if you need to. You physically have to go down and change the parameters on the pedal to be able to find your favorite settings. So fast forward like maybe best part of a year, I'd say, and SY-200 has now graced us with its presence. What's different about this? Well, firstly, it's programmable with MIDI, TRS MIDI. It's got an effects loop, 12 analog style synth patches with many variations. It looks like there are 171 different sounds that you can get out of SY-200, which is an insane amount. With that, you can save up to 128 user memory presets. It's also worth saying that it's extremely low latency. In fact, Boss claim it's latency free, which is always a good thing when we're talking about heavy processed sort of guitar sounds. On certain bits of gear, when you notice it, it's like the kind of thing you can't unnotice, almost like Matt Bellamy's breathing before each line he sings in early Muse records. If you didn't know that, I'm really sorry. But yeah. Anyway, it's also worth pointing out that you don't need any kind of special pickup. When I'm using the Variax Line 6 gear, obviously that all has to work together in order to get you the special sounds. You don't need any of that stuff anymore. It's literally just plug your guitar in and it'll get all of those cool sounds. It also has external foot switch and expression pedal inputs. But yeah, that's more or less the overview over the SY-200, and what we're going to be doing in this video is running a couple of different guitars into a really complicated rig that I will go through really quickly to let you know what my signal chain is. But overall, we're just going to hear some pretty intense synthy guitar epicness. So I sincerely hope you enjoy this video. Just to let you guys know, this is a sponsored video. Boss have paid me to check out SY-200, put it through its paces. The purpose of this video is for me to demonstrate a bunch of different sounds with different guitars. Any opinions of SY-200 are my personal opinions. I'll try my best to leave them to the end, but of course, I just needed to let you guys know. So let me go over the controls real quick. We're looking at the 200 series, so it's the same form factor as the others, but we've got a nice LED screen there. Underneath that, we've got 3 controls which change the fundamental parameters of each synth type. So you can see it says filter base 3, but we can change the tone, the resonance, and the depth of that specific effect. And then underneath that, we've got another 3 knobs. One for our direct level, so that's your direct guitar signal. One for the effect level, and then one that controls the variation. Now each synth type has multiple variations, many variations. Some have more than others, really depends. So you just twist the variation knob, listen to all the different types till you find one that you like. Top right, you've got your memory slash sort of enter encoder. Essentially, this is how you get through the different menu pages using that knob in the top right. And to enter a new menu screen, you just push it in. It's also worth pointing out that the 3 knobs under the LED screen are also push encoders as well. So if you want to go in and change depth, you could simply click it, and it would bring up some parameters under there that you can then use the top right encoder to scroll through the pages like this. You can see the different pages that we're looking at essentially. So that's super useful. Other than that, you've got a menu and an exit button, which essentially allow you to change fundamental parameters like turning on either a memory preset. So for example, I might want my effects loop to come on with the SY-200 for one particular preset, and that's memory, but I can also choose that to be system, so it's system wide, so the effects loop is activated across the whole pedal. In order for me to be able to get the most out of this pedal and show you sounds that I think are really cool on top of feeling inspired by this product, I decided that I wanted to link it where I could have dedicated synth sound, and then I could blend that with a guitar sound that I like, you know, whether it's a push clean, an ambient clean, or a high gain tone. So I'm using the Quad Cortex from Neural DSP. And the way I've got that working is, as you can see on the close-up camera here, I've got an ABY set up. It allows me to have output A or output B or both. So that's kind of the general concept. The idea being that I'd run my effects pedal boards for all my loop effects in the loop of SY-200, but then I would use all my in front of effects in front of the SY-200, and then I can toggle between them using the ABY into the Quad Cortex. So my guitar goes into my pedal board, out of my pedal board, so all in front of amp pedals, goes into the input of my ABY. Output A is going to the input of SY-200, output B is going straight through to the Quad Cortex. On the Quad Cortex, I have one sound set up, so it's just synth. There's no coloration from any guitar amp sounds, it's just straight in direct with the synth sound. And then I have another input on the Quad Cortex set up with essentially sort of a guitar sound that I've set up. It's a capture of my Massaad, and the idea being that it's kind of stereo rig, so guitar, and then synth in the middle, so you can hear everything nicely blended together. Hopefully that made sense to you. It did take me quite a while to rig it up so that I could actually use all of this stuff together, but the results are pretty damn epic. So without further ado, let's get into SY-200 and check it out. Okay, so let's get stuck in. I'm going to give you the sound of the guitar. So this is the Quad Cortex with my sort of stereo push clean rig. Got a couple of scenes set up for different gain staging, but this is what we've got, just Quad Cortex. So that's that, and let me just show you the higher gain scene. It's also worth pointing out I can use any pedal in front as well. The reverb that you're hearing is what I've added on the Quad Cortex, so because any reverb and delay on my pedal board is bespoke to the SY-200's effects loop, so I needed extra. In any case, that is the sound of the amp. And then here comes SY-200, currently on filter bass. So that's the sound of the SY-200 into Quad Cortex. So at this point, let me show you what happens when we blend both. So this is my guitar. SY-200. And both together. So that's how I'm getting everything together into one sound. It's also worth pointing out that depends on the synth patch, depends how I dial in the guitar tone. But it's really cool because if I want, I can throw on the Thunderclaw, for example, and it affects both. So that's awesome. But then on top of that, let's say I want some effects going straight into SY-200. This particular delay patch I've added to SY-200 was an older Lumo patch, so. But it's really cool because it's in the SY-200, so depending on the sound I want to use, I can go ahead and, you know, use those really cool presets that I'd made ages ago within SY-200, which is really cool. Ha! I'm just going to get lost for so long in this pedal. The way I've hooked it up, I'm really chuffed with that. Now I've got all this epic deep delay and reverb in the effects loop of SY-200, but then I'm using Quad Cortex, having that clean signal for the SY-200 and then my amp tones all blended together into one sound. That is banging. This is the kind of pedal you need to spend hours, days, even weeks fine-tuning, finding sounds that work for your tones. Because I find personally a lot of synth sounds that you use with guitar kind of don't really gel that well with guitar. Like they sound a little bit too synthy, too digital, too cheesy. So it's really a case of finding the right tones that gel with the style of guitar and guitar tones you like to use to really make it work for your music and your play style, which is what I did yesterday. I spent pretty much all day dialing in tones, jamming on it, messing around, having a good time. Okay, there we go. There is a look at SY-200. I hope this video hasn't been ridiculously long, but I wanted to focus on all the cool sounds and things that it can do and the tonal explorations that I went on yesterday to show you guys all of that stuff. What do I think? Firstly, I'm so glad SY-200 exists, because the SY-1 for me felt like they were doing a disservice to themselves in terms of the fact you had like 121 different sounds in this pedal, but you could only use one at a time and you couldn't program it and all the rest of it. That for me was like a bit of a shame that that was the case, but it's still a great pedal. But now they've done the 200 with the screen, it's programmable, you can use MIDI, it's got an effects loop, it's way more the type of product it should have been first time around, in my opinion. If you're into synth sounds on guitar, you're gonna find a sound that works for what you do. There's 171 variations of sound in there, and I'm sure, you know, on top of the fact you can manipulate the sound however which way you want, it definitely has great stuff in there. I had a great time using it with my guitar rig, coming up with like, some of it sound like film score, like, you know, like different stuff, video game stuff, all the rest of it. It's just a great sound design, fun pedal to have and mess around with. I think to get the most out of it, you need to have an expression pedal, an external foot switch, and I do think it's best when you blend it with your guitar. So I've done it with my Quad Cortex, but I think McRocklin did a similar thing with a line selector. So you want it set up so you can hear your guitar, but then also blend it in with that as well, and use effects in and amongst it all. It's just really impressive, the amount of sounds it can do. So my only real gripe with anything like this is, it's not really a gripe even, it's just my opinion, is that I find a lot of the sounds I probably wouldn't use. I think, you know, I'm sure someone out there will probably find a use for all the sounds, but with me, a pedal with this much option, it's great that it can do all that other stuff, but I find a lot of the sounds I'll just kind of sift past, like the bell sounds and some of the string patches and stuff. And I find that it's actually quite, there are a few things like, I'd love to have that range technology they have in the OC5 in there, so that it affects the low strings, but you can still play the high stuff without any synth sound. Because sometimes it would be nice to have that like low rumbling bass synth to carry on while you can play over the top. And there are plenty of modes in it, like on the organ, for example, using Control 1, you can hold, so you can play over it like a drone tone thing, which is great. But maybe with future updates, they can introduce new algorithms or something that will allow you to do that kind of thing. Like, that would be sick. But other than that, I don't really have a bad word to say about it. It's a great boss pedal. It's a stylized pedal. So it's like, if you're into the sound of synths and synths on your guitars and weird sound design stuff, then yeah, it's great fun. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the tones and some of the weird sounds that I managed to find. Thank you to Boss for sending this over for me to take a look at. Of course, I'll link it in the description box below. Until next time, I've been Rabea. Like, subscribe and share, and I will see you all very soon.